Welcome back to Warehouse and Operations as a Career. We had an email question about hand trucks. A listener was wondering if there was a training course offered by anyone for their use. I gather there's a position she'd like to apply for that had listed its use in the job description. She stated with 2 years of warehouse experience, she had not really had the opportunity to use one just yet. She'd seen them, but was a bit anxious about actually using it. I found this to be a really great question. I'm Marty, and let's talk about the hand truck and its use today. We'll start out at my go-to internet knows everything site, Wikipedia. Upon a search on hand truck, Wikipedia states, a hand truck, also known as a dolly, two-wheeler, stack truck, trolley, trundler, box cart, trolley truck, sack barrow, sack truck, or bag barrow, is an L-shaped box-moving handcart with handles at one end, wheels at the base, with a small ledge to set objects on, flat against the floor when the hand truck is upright. The objects to be moved are tilted forward, the ledge is inserted underneath them, and the objects allowed to tilt back and rest on the ledge. The truck and the objects are then tilted backward until the weight is balanced over the large wheels, making otherwise bulky and heavy objects easier to move. It is a first-class lever. Sack trucks was originally used in the 18th century to move large sacks of spices on docks by young boys from the age of 11, who were unable to lift the large sacks by hand. By using this method, they were able to work as well as grown men in moving items around. Later, such trucks was amended for use in many different industries such as brewing, where hops were moved in sacks. And Wikipedia goes on to describe materials used in a few different types of units. And there's a lot of other examples and thoughts about hand trucks available on the internet and hundreds of different images. Some are really innovative and interesting. You ought to check them out. Well, I guess that's a pretty good, albeit short, explanation of probably the most versatile tool used in our industry. Hand trucks or two-wheelers are used in almost every building. I think it's kind of like a ladder. There's always a use for one, even in our day-to-day lives. You'll find them in office environments, mail rooms, retail stores, and even in professional buildings. It's the perfect tool to move a box or an item from point A to point B. When moving a couple of file boxes from one cubicle to another, I'd probably agree, as long as one's applying some common sense and is being careful, there's not any special training required and the task can be accomplished by pretty much anyone. But when you'll be moving 1,500 cases throughout like 20 different stops, working with it in a loaded trailer, coming down a trailer ramp and navigating through doorways and around the many obstacles encountered by today's delivery drivers and driver helpers, a bit of training, practice, and experience sure can make the task a bit easier and much safer to accomplish. I know some delivery drivers that own and carry as many as 5 and 6 dollies or hand trucks with them each day. At large stops, it's so efficient to load up several and run one after the other into the account, or have a helper loading up one while you're running one. The typical setup would be like 3 regular hand trucks and 2 breakdown dollies. And I would really hope that all of them would be equipped with hand brakes. Although brakes aren't really important when just moving a few boxes around the office, I think they should really be mandatory when rolling 300 pounds down a trailer ramp to a sidewalk or the curb. Even as an add-on piece of equipment, the investment is really well worth it. Trailer ramps can be dangerous. Think about it for a second. We're behind 250, 350 pounds. We have it balanced going down a ramp with pneumatic or rubber composite tires on our two-wheeler, with about 3 inches on either side of our ramp guides or ledges, with gravity pulling at us at a pretty good clip, and one of those wheels touches the ramp side. It's going to come to a stop, immediately come to a stop, and our load, hand truck, and us as well will continue in motion until we hit the ground, wall, or building. I've seen broken legs, broken hips, and a couple of head injuries result in such a spill. Brakes can keep that speed regulated a bit, and exercising caution and some common sense will go a long ways to preventing such an accident. As for training courses available, I'd refer to experience really, and there's a lot of YouTube videos by users and manufacturers both. We'll be moving weight with it. It's important we position the first case securely and evenly on the blade or ledge of the hand truck. the piece that's on the ground when the dolly is standing up. As we stack other cases on top of the first one, make sure we're stacking them heaviest and sturdiest to lightest and crushable being on top. Never stack over our sight line or the handle or height of our hand truck, and be careful not to overload our equipment. Every truck comes with its weight limit. Remember, that's the structural limit of the unit, not necessarily a weight we as individuals can handle. When braking over the load or pulling the load towards us or off the ground, learn to find that angle or point where the weight is on the truck's wheels and not on our shoulders or backs, and comfortably moves when pushed or pulled. It's best to always stay behind the load. In other words, pushing it forward for obvious reasons, not just ergonomics. You don't want to get ran over by the load if you're on uneven ground. Remember the weight. It's heavier than it feels if we're doing it correctly, and the load is wider than the wheels or axle possibly. Watch for door jams, doors, and walls when navigating hallways and corners. Oh, and thresholds or floor drains. Both of those can yank the load from your hands if you're not careful. I've lost loads to both of those before. Experience is the best teacher. Use caution, go slow, be careful, and stay focused, and you'll learn you can get into and out of some pretty tight places with your loads. Once you master it, it just becomes an extension of your arms. It's really an amazingly efficient piece of equipment. As I mentioned, there's all kinds of hand trucks. The breakdown we mentioned earlier can transform from a regular upright dolly to a cart type unit that can load much more product on and push through hallways and elevators. There's units made to move barrels and drums around safely with. And today we even have stair climbers with electric climber wheels and battery packs actually built right into the unit. And so many accessories, from brake units to pouches for holding small splits or individual loose items in our paperwork. Wheels and tires are probably the most important and probably the most customizable. I've seen some pretty tricked out delivery dollies and some serious paint jobs too. I think one of the most useful accessories is the curb ramps. They're lightweight, can be tossed around easily. They come in both aluminum and plastic and are really inexpensive for the efficiencies that they can bring to us. It's much easier to pull the load up a ramp than try to pull the dead weight of the load up a curb. Hand trucks can be made out of fiberglass, aluminum, or steel to super lightweight yet strong magnesium frames, and of course from cheap to inexpensive to very expensive. As with any work tool, you typically get what you pay for, and when it comes to our work equipment, I personally feel the best is better. At least spend enough to be dependable, long-lasting, and safe. A couple of other tools that come to mind real quick as warehousemen that we may need some experience with or training in their use could be manual dock plates. How to pull the release chains and properly walk them down, securing the trailer lip properly. And wheel chocks or trailer chocks, a very important item to have in place before entering a trailer to load it or unload it. Many newer facilities may utilize hydraulic dock plates and trailer locks. Either way, it's important we understand their usage and how to operate them. Always ask questions if you do not understand them or have not been shown how they work. I hope we helped you today in one way or another, gave you something to think about. If you'd like more information on any of today's topics, please shoot us an email. host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com, and we'd be happy to answer them individually or send over some reference materials. We'd appreciate a follow on our Twitter feed @WHSEANDOPS. We talk and share quite a bit on shifts and leadership there. Remember, the work we do can be repetitious to some degree, and we can get comfortable doing it. Please be cautious. Follow the safety rules, practice safe lifting techniques, and always respect your powered equipment. Let's all leave each shift as we started it, healthy and happy. Until next week, please treat safety as priority 1.